thing.
GBNews provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard.
We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think. Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in their home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good evening, I'm Tatiana Sanchez. This is the latest from the GB newsroom. Lawyers representing the families of two of Lucy Letby's victims have called the independent inquiry inadequate. The government ordered a non-statutory investigation after the former nurse's conviction yesterday. It'll look at the circumstances surrounding the deaths, including how concerns raised by clinicians were dealt with. The prosecution's key medical expert has told The Observer police should investigate hospital bosses for corporate manslaughter, calling them grossly negligent for not acting on fears about Letby's actions at the time. She was found guilty of the murder of 7 babies and the attempted murder of 6 others. She'll be sentenced on Monday. A 50-year-old man has been charged with possessing documents or records likely to be useful to terrorists and the possession of articles for use in terrorism. He'll appear in court on Monday. That's in relation to last week's PSNI data breach, where the details of 10,000 police officers and staff were published online by mistake. It's after police officers in Northern Ireland revealed they're also investigating the loss of an officer's laptop and notebook, which fell from a moving vehicle. That contained the details of 42 officers and staff. Criminal gangs have been condemned by maritime experts for pushing small boats out into the English Channel during Storm Betty. Coast Guard and Border Force vessels have been called to deal with reports of migrant boats in the sea in treacherous conditions. At least 3 were intercepted in UK waters this morning. GB News understands around 100 people were on board. And finally, King Charles has told the Lionesses to roar to victory ahead of tomorrow's World Cup final. England are taking on Spain to win the trophy for the first time. Lauren James, who served a 2-match suspension following her red card against Nigeria, could still start tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Prince of Wales has apologised for not being able to attend the final in person. He and Princess Charlotte wish the team good luck.
Lionesses, want to send you a huge good luck for tomorrow. We're sorry we can't be there in person, but we're so proud of everything you've achieved and the millions you've inspired here and around the world. So go out there tomorrow and really enjoy yourselves.
Good luck, Lionesses.
This is GB News across the UK on TV, in your car on digital radio and on your smart speaker by saying play GB News. Now it's time for headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, the show where comedians tackle serious news stories while trying not to get themselves cancelled. I'm Nick Dixon, the People's host, as I'm known by myself, and I'm joined by Paul Cox. There he is. Look at him.
Hey.
And Victor Daniels.
Hey, I'm tired today. I just finished playing squash.
Squash?
Squash?
Really? Where did you play squash?
Four flip or something like that.
4 flip?
4 flop or something. Redbridge Leisure Centre. Big up to the guys. Redbridge.
Yeah, big up to Redbridge crew.
Yeah, that's what this show mainly is. It's a tribute to Redbridge Leisure Centre. That's quite posh at squash. We're more posh. Sort of like fighting here.
Yeah, we're into like football and
bare knuckle.
Yeah.
Do you mainly just do posh stuff?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I'm trying to devise. I'm trying to do different things. You know?
Good for you, mate.
Well, welcome to the show. I've not roasted you because I've only just met you tonight. I think it'd be a bit much to give you the full...
Straight in with the roast.
In a few episodes, we'll be attacking you like everyone. So, all right, let's have a quick look at the front pages then. It's what the show's about. So, The Observer have now investigate hospital bosses. Letby trial expert urges police. The Sunday Telegraph goes with doctors wage war on NHS managers after Letby. The Sunday Times, killer Letby was offered role at top children's hospital after witch hunt. The Sunday Express, boats crisis is EU's revenge for Brexit. The Sunday Mirror, Lioness we can, Incredibly weak pun there from the Sunday Mirror. And finally, the Daily Star, they think it's all hangover. Possibly an even worse pun, and those were the front pages. All right, let's start with the Telegraph, Paul.
Yeah, doctors wage war on NHS managers after Letby. Well, we all know the Letby story, but this is a tragic story. Senior doctors are demanding a crackdown on unaccountable NHS managers after hospital bosses were accused of walking away from life-destroying mistakes. So this is just one great big disturbing mess. I mean, we've got a psychopathic nurse on the loose in an NHS drowning in bureaucracy, and where managers are making decisions ahead of medical doctors. I mean, I've no idea how we've got to this point. However, I mean, these things, this isn't unprecedented. It happened with Shipman, it's happened before, but surely there will have to be an investigation now. I can't imagine that there won't be. That could take forever, but what do you think, Victor?
Conspiracy theories. Is it just her?
Well,
could it have just been...
What a take, Victor, straight in there with...
Straight in,
do you know what? I know a fair bit about this story, but are there actually anybody else being accused?
From what I understand, it's just her.
Yeah.
And it just seems to me, like, obviously she sounds guilty, but it seems to me that there must have been other people involved. You can't just go around... Well,
the point is that it's negligence, isn't it? That's what the point is here. They're saying the other people involved are actually not directly involved, but the managers, they were whistleblowers. There's a doctor who's been talking on the news the last 3 days, who has essentially said, I was trying to tell them really early on, 1 or 2 deaths in. So you're right in a sense.
No, it's absolutely shocking. When you read it, it's heartbreaking, it's infuriating. She was being reported as early as 2015, not arrested till 2018. That's what struck me. But this article is specifically about the need for regulators. I mean, as a consultant says here, there's no excuse for not bringing in professional regulation of NHS managers. You've got it for nurses and doctors. Everyone else is regulated, the clinicians are regulated, but not the managers, and so they can get away with being negligent.
Yeah, it's a good... I mean...
I think they should take away this negligence. I think they need to be prosecuted. I mean, this is like a criminal offence. They should be looking jail time.
Well, it's corporate manslaughter at the end of the day, isn't it? If you're the leader of a business, you run a business, and you tell someone to go up a ladder, they fall down that ladder and break their leg and can never work again, or die, then that is corporate manslaughter. So this is exactly the same thing. They've ignored.
It's a bit worse. I mean.
Well, yeah. They've ignored any advice that could have stopped this earlier. So they are culpable, is what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah. They should look jail time.
Jail time it is.
Well, let's have a look at this other story at the top of the Telegraph from Graham Linehan, our friend who was cancelled. And he says he feels like he's trapped in one of his own sitcoms.
Yes, this is exactly it. I mean, cancelled and trapped in a sitcom, Graham says. And this is basically the insanity of the gender ideology has seen this Edinburgh show fall apart. It feels like living in Father Ted, Graham Linehan says. There's a steep irony curve, he goes on to say, in being a sitcom writer and experiencing 48 hours where you feel like you're living through an episode yourself. And he did. He tells a tale in this story of how, obviously, we're all aware of it now. The first was cancelled, and then the second venue cancelled. But he only knew as he was going through security checks at Gatwick and thought he was going up to do absolutely nothing. Thank goodness he didn't. He went and they performed outside the Scottish Parliament.
Yeah.
However,
they got a performance through. Yeah.
They did. In the end, they stood outside of Holyrood, which is the Houses of Parliament in Edinburgh, and performed to an audience, to a very big audience by Edinburgh standards, 150 people, and it went ahead. But it found, for him, it was a very emotional experience. All he wanted to do was tell jokes. All the people who bought tickets to see Unleashed wanted to do was see comedians tell jokes, and they were told at the Edinburgh Fringe, of all places, you can't.
Yeah, and he talks about.
He's not black, Victor, no.
The way he's getting treated, man.
Good question, mate. He's definitely not black.
Feeling his pain.
No. The bad people now are Irish sitcom writers. They're in trouble. And he talks about the Talk TV ambush. I don't like to have a go at Talk TV. There are a lot of people I know that work there, but it was a shocking interview. Basically, they were completely one-sided. They stitched them up. They suggested it was like the venue did it. No, Comedy Unleashed, the organiser, did it deliberately. This absurd idea, co-founded by Andrew Doyle, that a gay man was like, I know, I'll put it on an LGBT-friendly venue, knowing it will be cancelled and knowing I'll get publicity. This absurd. They've gone into conspiracy theory zones. It's absolutely ridiculous. None of that happened. They just did their best to put a show on. Anyway, some kind of show happen in the end, at least. But I'm going to talk to Andy Shaw about this tomorrow on Free Speech Nation. Little teaser there.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the Express now, Victor.
Yeah, boats crisis in EU revenge for Brexit, they're saying. Basically, they're saying that a lot of illegal immigrants are coming through over on boats, 25,000, I didn't even realise, and you can't even send them back. I mean,
that's the problem, Victor.
Legend.
That's always been your thing, hasn't it, Victor? Send them back. You've always said. And now...
Why can't you? If they're illegal immigrants, why can't you send them? I'm confused.
Do you know what? We could end the show now, Victor, and everyone would be happy. That's the whole point, isn't it? It's a bit like opening. It's a bit like going into a hotel, paying for one night, and by the way, paying £10,000 to get into that for one night, and staying forever.
And it's costing the taxpayers £6 million a day.
I know.
That's me. I'm paying part of that.
Most of it's for me because my income's so high. I know, it's incredible. What about the claim, Paul, that it's Brexit punishment and it comes from Tony Smith has said they're prolonging it on purpose for Brexit. Do you buy that?
I do, actually. I think it's more evidence that they're taking the break up extremely badly. And, you know, I'm not someone... I didn't actually vote for Brexit, but about 3 minutes after Brexit, I wish I had done, because of this very story.
Yeah.
Stuff like this, where you just straight away... They didn't take it well. Nobody's taken it well that didn't vote to leave, and we just left in this... Tony Smith, by the way, is probably the last leader of Border Force or British Border Chief that spoke any sense. There's a reason they keep speaking to Tony Smith, because he's the only one who talks any sense. My father-in-law is an ex-immigration officer, was for many years, and he talks very fondly of Tony Smith. I believe he may even know him, but he talks sense. He's a man of the people, Tony Smith. He understands the problems.
Well, between your connections, Paul, and Victor's passion, I think we could send them back, frankly. We seem to have
leave it
the
to us.
infrastructure on
Send
this
them
show.
back or send them to Croydon. I mean, just... they've got to go back.
I love your breakup analogy as well, Paul, because this is what you do in every breakup. You prolong your partner's small boats crisis if you can. It's classic stuff. Let's do the Sunday Times then, Paul.
Yeah, Sunday Times. Charles to be caretaker, Monica, Monica, why not? Caretaker monarch for
Well,
Wales.
a Rachel person myself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were on a break, Nick. All right, come on. Monarch wants continuity, so we're talking about the first year here of Charles. Charles is saying that he wants continuity, not radical change, and they'll leave any radical change to William, our Prince of Wales, which I guess is a slightly new take on things. We always thought that Charles would be a bit of a radicalist and hasn't done so far. And I think a good monarch is like a good child. They're best seen and not heard. And that's exactly what we've seen from King Charles in this time. There's actually two parts to this story, which always fascinates me. I don't know if this is true of the Sunday Times on a regular basis, but they've managed to crowbar Diana in somehow. And they've said further on in the article that almost a year after taking the top job, there is quiet satisfaction in the court of the king that Diana, who said he would find the job too demanding and suffocating, has been proven wrong. A little bit unfair on Diana here.
Oh, yeah, leave her alone. Apparently he's a complete workaholic, which will make some Republicans laugh who don't like the monarchy, but he returns to his desk after dinner often, apparently, and he loves his workload. He really goes for it. Well, that's good that he's working hard. I mean,
Working hard doing what? He doesn't do nothing.
Big time. He's working on loads of stuff. He reads.
How dare you?
He reads.
Monarch.
You try holding a pen with them fingers.
Do anything.
Victor, you haven't... It's GB News. We support the monarchy.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah,
You've got...
King Charles to do it.
Do you not read the contract?
No, we believe in balance. You think he doesn't do anything?
I don't think he does nothing.
Victor, he returns to his desk after dinner.
Oh, so do I. What does that mean?
I mean, I'm always having dinner.
Yeah, good point. I don't know. I just hope William is even more traditional, but I'm worried he'll be a bit woke.
And what about Prince Harry? He's a Netflix star. Don't he get a little...
No, I don't know if you've seen the news in the last 18 months.
I know, but still, he's still Prince.
He is. I don't think he's going to get much of a say the way he's going. I mean, it's a good point. I'm quite glad. I think if you're going to take over from Queen Elizabeth, who was on the throne, I think she was on the throne for 307 years. Is that right, Nick?
That's correct.
And as a result, it's much easier and better for the country if he eases us out of that. He probably has a very finite amount of years on the throne. And I worry, like you do, that maybe...
2 or 3.
The culture war will be dead by then, surely, hopefully.
We hope so. I mean, and lastly, I just noticed Jerry from the Spice Girls is 51, which made me feel very, very old. I'm almost 30. Let's have a quick look at the Daily Star, Victor. Always important.
I love the pun. They think it's all hangover.
Yeah. Slow clap.
Round of applause. Was that a round of applause or a slow
Daily
clap?
Staff, they need writers. Holler at me, I could write better than that.
I've only just met you and I believe you could. So they're talking about the 30 million pints that may be drunk over so-called Super Sunday.
Yeah, and what kills it, it's British culture. I mean, we don't stop drinking until we see Jesus. So what makes me laugh is that the people that are going to be drinking don't even watch women's football. They couldn't name 3 players. They're using this as an excuse to get drunk.
They're fans of international drinking. What do you think, Paul?
Well, they're saying they're going to bunk off from work tomorrow and everyone works from home, so I'm not sure what they're going to bunk off from, Nick.
Yeah, I'll be here working on Free Speech Nation with you as well.
With you, Nick, we'll be
7
working.
PM. I'll be plugging that throughout the show tonight, but that's it for part 1. But coming up, Welsh independence, modern slavery, and the perfume industry goes woke. See you soon.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, "Nana, stop arguing." I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different. Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Nick Dixon, still here with Paul Cox and Victor Daniels. There he is, Coxie, as we call him. There's Victor. Brilliant. Perfect. Let's do the Independent then. And slavery is bad, I don't mind saying it, but so is pretending to be a slave. But is that what's actually happening here, Paul?
Tricky story, this, Nick. Thousands of modern slavery cases rejected in Home Office crackdown on bogus claims. So, if we look at this purely from a legal perspective, then evidence is important. And what they're saying here is charities have warned that it's not possible for victims to provide extensive documentation of how they'd been trafficked, and say the new rules are excluding people who deserve support. So this is really tricky in the sense they don't want to chuck the baby out with the bathwater, but they don't want bogus claims either. And I'd imagine that if you're being trafficked and you're a slave, it's very difficult to keep a filing cabinet of evidence.
evidence.
Well,
exactly.
In saying that, they're not exactly coming over on British Airways. I mean, they're being illegally put into the country, so we know from a fact that it's illegal.
Straight away.
Straight away.
Loving your tough stance tonight, Victor. I wasn't sure if you came in, you knew. I was like, will he be one of these lefties? But he just bang, bang, send them back.
Send them back.
We don't care.
No, it's not. No, whoa. I didn't say that.
Okay,
that's what Victor said.
Away. No, you're right. I mean, some of it does sound horrific, and you go, OK, that's horrible. Yeah, and of course they don't have records. They're abused. Why would they have all these records? At the same time, it is a massive problem. As we know, we've got to do something about it. If there are bogus claims, it's very tricky to know. And because it's the Independent, we have no idea what the truth is.
But when you say bogus claim, it's not a bogus claim. You just haven't gone out there and got the evidence. The police need to do more to stop trafficking.
Well, we agree with that, I think. I think the point I think we can make about this, however, is that there are certainly... There are even lawyers out there that would take advantage and make a quick quid on the back. If someone says, I think I might have been a slave, they'll go, you certainly were, mate. Let's go and make some money.
I'm a lawyer.
Yeah. Well, exactly. We've got Dr. Lewis and we've got lawyer.
And when they're saying there's no evidence, I mean, we've got mobile phones. Do a TikTok video and show that you're in slavery.
I think you need to be involved in this, Victor.
Right. The TikTok slavery market has not been exploited enough. Maybe we should move on from that one before we get in more trouble. Let's do the Observer with one of their favourite topics, actually, Britain apologising for the past, Victor.
About time.
Here we go.
William Gladstone's family of former British Prime Minister to apologise for links to slavery. And that's nice, that's cute, wonderful, great guy. He goes on to say that he's going to donate 20 million fund. But then I thought, that's good, that's a good start. But then it says to do more research into the effects of slavery. No, we don't want no more research. We want money.
Yes.
I want money, my African cousins want money, our Caribbean cousins, even some white people want money from slavery.
I'll take some money. I'll have some money.
Yeah, I see your point. I mean, when you look at the fact that John Gladstone owned or held mortgages over 2,508 enslaved Africans, I do go, OK, that seems excessive. But then at the same time, just to give the counter, we just seem to constantly apologise for the British Empire. It was relatively benign. Turkey never apologises. You know, Paul had a small empire he's not apologised for. I mean, you know, and we also ended slavery, just for...
But why are we apologising? If a drug dealer gets caught tomorrow, he can't just go to court and go, I apologise. They're going to take all these assets. We need to take all their assets away. He's saying that he profited from slavery, which was illegal.
Yeah, there was a strange bit here where Laura Trevelyan said, well, she's a former BBC journalist, said, if anyone had white privilege, it was me. And it's like, then she gave 100,000. You're like, I feel like you've got more if that's your...
Yeah,
you
just dish out 100 grand.
Yeah. And it's like, maybe
will this make you feel better?
Yeah, I mean, even white privilege, they started handing out that kind of money.
That's premium white privilege, that is.
We don't have access to that.
Yeah, I can't get into that, Craig. I'm telling you. I mean, first things first, right? I'll get onto the story and say, I love the way The Guardian framed this. Like, they've finally proven that slavery is bad. Look. Bad. Slavery was bad. All right, well done, Guardian. Nice work. We've always known it's bad, and we've had 300 years to get over it. The British are always apologising. This is, I mean, even you can agree with this, Victor. You're as British as I am, mate. We are always apologising, and we're apologising for the weather, we apologise for...
But we don't apologise for slavery.
We have just started, though, and that's our new thing, Victor.
I haven't seen Rishik say anything.
Rishi's not going to say anything for some obvious reasons. But at the end of the day, what good will this do? Tell us what good it will do, Victor, because I'm not sure what good it will do.
No, apology wouldn't do.
Cash.
I want the cash, and I want them to be stripped of all their riches if they've proven that they've earned money from slavery. Because as a drug dealer, I had all my assets taken away from me. Now, I'm not really a drug dealer. That's a stereotype. No. I'm not a drug dealer. I went to uni.
All right, good. Yeah, all right, well, if the assets go to us, I have no problem at all, because I haven't done any slavery. All right, let's do the Telegraph. And finally, we're calling out the source of most of the problems in the Western world, the perfume industry, Paul.
This is where we finally got to, and thank goodness we have, guys. Perfume industry facing calls to ban words Oriental and exotic because of racist connotations. Now, I understand why they're saying they could potentially find the word Oriental racist in some way.
I agree.
However, exotic. And by the way, the article doesn't go on to explain, as far as I can tell, why they believe the word exotic is racist in any way. However, the word Oriental has probably been racist for about 20 years.
Well, my problem with that, though, is the word Occidental is not racist. It just denotes pertaining to the West. So why is Oriental? I know there's a different history, I suppose, is the answer.
No, Oriental sounds... As soon as you say Oriental, I'm thinking Chinese people straight away.
Occidental, people just think, what's he on about? Just a small point, but maybe it is bad. But when they just say exotic, that just means cheap, but trying to sound cool, in my mind.
Exotic to me sounds like Page 6 Pornhub. That's all I hear.
Never got that far, if I'm honest with you, Victor.
But what this article does give us is the extraordinary phrase intersectional perfumery.
That's never happened. No one's ever said that.
This initiative seeks to create space for intersectional perfumery. Is that really necessary?
Yeah.
Was anyone crying out for that? And so they're just going to change all the names to soft amber.
Oh, that's my favourite. Yeah, soft amber, floral amber, woody amber. It sounds like virgins. Perfume for virgins. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like nice.
I guess that's what they're trying to make people smell like.
Would you wear soft amber, Paul?
I'm wearing it now. I wear hard amber most of the time.
He smells good.
Do I?
Yes.
That's the mix of soft amber I've got going on.
All the smells of the Orient.
Which is not funny, Nick. Thank you.
No, ridiculous. Outrageous. So let's do the Observe again. And LGBTQ people are apparently more likely to face hardship in retirement, Victor. Is that right?
That's what they say. It makes no sense to me, but yeah. Data shows that 44% of risk of struggling to afford food and heating after leaving workplace. And I can see why, because I can go home and have 2 toasts, but I suppose if you're from the LGBTQ plus 75 other letters, it must be hard, because you've got to find olives, hummus, fat-free water, because they live a real extravagant lifestyle.
You're suggesting they've wasted their money on consumer goods, posh foods,
Yeah.
saving it for retirement. Another hardline sort of attitude there. You're even harder than Leo Kurtz. So is it because... Now, Paul, is this one of these correlation does not equal causation things? Because I was looking at it going, well, what are the causes? Is it because they're not married? And it does mention at the end here, estrangement from family, the necessity to change jobs more frequently due to issues arising from their sexuality, which I found a bit questionable in 2023. And then the fact that they need to fund gender-affirming procedures, so-called, at significant cost. Well, I mean, we talk about that almost every night, but what do you think?
Well, it's like the Guardian writers live in the 1950s and write about 2023 all the time. Because, perhaps there is something serious about this, but I can't find it. They group together so many people that how could they... This is such a tenuous link. How could they possibly say that... They're going to have to say which one of those letters is most hard done by this, because you can't group them all together.
Right, because
so they don't even group themselves together.
I can.
I mean, it's... Yeah, we have to on a regular basis.
Basically, it's this lot against one rich, straight bloke who's got an amazing pension, and then it's everyone else. Is that what you're saying?
Could you define the LGBTQ plus community? Could you define it?
Yes, they're good people.
Thank you.
I don't understand. Do they go to work and say, hi, my name's Steve,
they're saying that they've
I'm
had
part of the
so
LGBTQ
much
community.
lack of opportunity because of whichever they are, that by the time they retire, they just won't have the pensions that you and I are going to have, Victor, or anyone else is going to have, because they've been so hard done by throughout their whole lives. I cannot imagine that's going to be the case in 20 years' time.
I'm much more soft-hearted than you two. I think maybe it is true, but I'm not totally convinced by this article, because it doesn't offer me evidence of the causal link. So we need more work there.
We need some... What we need is some pensioners from the LGBTQ to phone in and explain their hardships.
So, give us a lived experience, first-hand accounts. All right, let's do the Telegraph then. And people are going to university because they don't know what else to do. How is that news, Paul? Well, it's been the case for president.
That's a really interesting point, and I'll come straight back to that once I let our viewers know what we're talking about. People go to university because they don't know what else to do, says Education Secretary. I think a lot of people, this is Gillian Keegan, by the way, says, I think a lot of people go to university because they don't know what else to do. And do you know what? The more I learn about Gillian Keegan this week, the more I can see how well connected she is to ordinary people. So far this week, she's told people not to worry too much about their exam results. She's told people that in 10 years' time, most employers won't care about your exam results. And now she's saying a lot of people going to university are wasting their time. I mean...
I'm sorry,
but she's the education secretary.
I agree with her.
She's more like the de-education secretary. I love it. It's like, don't go to university, your grades don't matter. It's kind of based. It's like she's trying to eradicate her own department.
I agree with her, because I went to university and I picked it based on which one had the most women. No, but it's true. A lot of people go to university...
Which one was that, by the way?
He's right, good.
I'm too old, don't worry, carry on.
It was North London. But anyway, a lot of people do go to university and they don't know what they're going to do with their life. And as well, a lot of parents don't know of different routes to employment. They only think of university and they encourage their kids to go to university.
Interestingly, this is as if
It's a scam.
This is as if this was a Labour education secretary from pre-Tony Blair years. This is exactly what they would have said. The sort of education secretary that was connected well to the normal or working class elements of this country. Since Tony Blair, however, has made going to university the pinnacle of anyone's life and said that absolutely everybody should go, which is not true, has never been true. This is what we've ended up with 20-odd years later.
You're right. All right, well, let's quickly, before the break, squeeze this one in. The Express and support for Welsh independence has surged in a poll that the Express are calling stunning. Bit of a slow news day there at the Express, Paul, if this is stunning.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're going to have to redefine the meaning of the word stunning, because the figures put the support for Wales leaving the UK at 29%. So that means that the 71% is not stunning in some way. This isn't even close, is it? What they're saying, this has joined this has reached the sort of figures that they found were polled during pandemic, when, you know, remember the pandemic, when every devolved nation tried to compete with one another on who was toughest and who could wear the most masks.
Authoritarian. The horrors of Drakeford. That's why I'm amazed that you want to become independent. I understand maybe it's because the government are not doing very well, so people want to leave Westminster, which 55% said Wales should have its own parliament. What do you think, Victor?
I don't think the Welsh people do want to leave. I mean, it's only 29%.
They don't.
I've been to Wales, they seem fine with me. But what I didn't understand was, if they're still part...
You sat around. You understood several of them.
Yeah, it was all cool. I didn't see no problems. But if they're still part of the English community, I want my £5.50 back for the toll I paid to get into Wales.
Great point.
All right, well, let's move on and do the break. So that's it for part 2. But coming up, Downing Street failed to show enough support for women's football, and Elon Musk unblocks everyone. See you in a minute.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. As we move through into the second part of the weekend, we'll see further showers, particularly across the northwest of the UK, and sunny spells towards the southeast. And this area of low pressure still brings in the showers and brisk winds towards the northwest, but further south and east, high pressure builds in. For the rest of the evening and overnight, we still have a few showers across Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland, 1 or 2 for western parts of England and Wales, but largely dry for most, with clear skies, especially towards the east of the UK. Temperatures overall, generally 15 or 16 Celsius in towns and cities, a little lower in the countryside. So a fairly warm start to Sunday morning, plenty of sunny spells, a few showers across western areas. And then as we go through the day, many will have a fine day to come. Plenty of sunny spells, just a few showers bubbling up as we move through the afternoon. Showers most frequent across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. 1 or 2 of them could be heavy here. Still rather breezy around the coast. Temperatures reaching the low 20s, perhaps 25 towards the far southeast. Into Monday, little change for England and Wales, 1 or 2 showers around, though we will see more persistent rain returning across parts of Northern Ireland into western Scotland as we move through the day. Some of this rain turning heavy at times, the winds starting to pick up too, and temperatures in the low 20s. Tuesday and Wednesday, largely dry, just a few showers in the north and temperatures above average.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes & Co, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates. Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed. So I guess they've always been quite woke. That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard. We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often there will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties. We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get straight into it with The Observer. And Elon Musk is threatening to remove the block feature from Twitter, now known as X, which means basically I'll be forced to see all of Lewis Schaefer's tweets.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
So it says here, blocking feature to be removed from former Twitter platform X, says Musk. What a legend, yeah? So to all the 8 women that blocked me, I'm back.
You're seeing it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think that's what they're worried about, Victor.
I mean,
brilliant.
Paul, I'm just going to put my cards on the table. I think it's a terrible idea. So do 99.9% of users from my research. I mean, people, you'll be able to harass, you'll be able to spam, Victor will be able to harass women. It's clearly a bad idea. And no one wants it. The only person I've seen that wants it, literally the only person apart from Musk, is Jack, who's the former owner of Twitter, and Elon Musk said Jack understands. I'm like, do you mean the guy that destroyed the platform and ran it into the ground? I mean, so you had to buy it. I mean, why is he not listening to what users want? Go on.
But when it says blocked, it doesn't mean you can't. You can still block people from your direct messages.
Yes.
But if you block people, it kind of stops free speech in a weird type of way.
No, is it? Because to me, it's like you can have free speech, but you don't have to let someone in your house. And you should be allowed to block someone. And it's quite necessary. The bigger your account gets, I'm at a mere 20,000, but when you're at the levels of St. Andrew Doyle, the amount of abuse someone like Andrew gets, it's outrageous. And you have to be able to do something about it. Now, they're saying that mute will replace it. Yeah. And mute will be more aggressive.
But mute exists, I believe. I've not used it. Do you know what?
He's saying the mute will be more like a block, to which I say, well, just keep blocked then.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And had I had this conversation with you a year ago, coming up to my first year on Headliners. Before being on Headliners, I would have said to you it's not really an issue. Having now doing this job, what it comes with is a little bit of hate occasionally. Some people out there, no one watching tonight, obviously, can be quite abusive towards us, and it has been a nice feature for me. And I disagree with you there, Victor. I don't think it thwarts free speech whatsoever. These people can still speak. I just don't have to listen to them.
Yeah, but if someone's being abusive to you, that is something you report that, and that person will get their account just taken away or whatever.
True, I'm not sure that happened. I think the point I'm saying is people are I'm actually, obviously, an advocate for free speech, and I think one of the reasons I support free speech is we should be able to hear everybody's view. And one of the reasons I want to hear everybody's view is because I want to know who the nutters are. And if we know who the nutters are, at least we get to see it. It's not underground in any way. And some of the perception has always been nutters are on the right, and I don't believe that at all.
Of course not. There's another thing, though, that people can attack other people in the replies. So even if the main person, even if I mute you, but then Victor's still harassing people in my replies because I can't block him, You see what I mean? That's another
but
problem.
you're looking at it from attack and harass. I'm not talking about attacking. I'm just talking about, let's say, for example, I believe in free food for black people.
Me too, by the way.
I want you guys to know about this. Now, if you block me.
Yeah, but we have the right to not listen to that opinion.
No, but then where's free speech?
People are saying, no, it's not an infringement of free speech. You can still say it. We just don't always... It's like we don't have to tune into that channel. I mean...
Yeah, you don't have to tune in, but blocking is something else.
I don't know. I think it's fine. And the thing is, people don't want this change. You're about the only person... You, Jack and Elon Musk.
I know Musk.
People are saying that they're doing it just for advertising. I can't confirm it, but some people think it's something to do with ads. Like, they don't want to give people the ability to block ads because they're desperate for revenue. So this is just one theory. I think it's a terrible idea. I've only blocked 492 people. I checked. I follow someone who's a great writer who has blocked 55,000.
Wow.
So I'm a mere amateur. I don't even block that many, but I do want the option. And the people that argue against, to be fair, are normally people with 12 followers who are the kind of people you might want to block. So that's what I've noticed. But anyway, that's that one. Let's do the Telegraph. And Facebook has been accused of hampering the Canada wildfire evacuation by being too cheap, essentially, to pay for new news content. Is that right, Paul?
Well, yeah, I think I'm going to take a slightly different take on this, but Facebook news ban accused of hampering Canada wildfires. So this is all about Facebook making decisions on other people's behalf, not for the first time. However, they banned wildlife stories in Australia. They've now banned them in Canada. And one of the core reasons they've done this is for misinformation. They've said that people have spread misinformation about the wildfires. The same people, you know, these are the Facebook, by the way, who said that Hunter Biden's laptop was a conspiracy and was fake news. So, and Twitter, let's not forget Twitter in this.
In this story, ain't they saying they're stopping it because the news channels want to charge Facebook for using their
there was legislation
coverage?
brought in that means that they have to pay news publishers for content, and then Facebook are too cheap, and to hit back, they would go, well, we just won't pay for it.
Yeah.
And so that's become a problem,
So it's more the news people using misery to make money.
It's just sort of a war
between... That's not...
It's the ongoing war between social media and legislators, but it's not always... To defend Meta, which I never thought I'd say, but it's not always them. It's pressure on them from government and so on. With that Hunter Biden thing, there was pressure on them.
Activist group.
From the Democrats as well. Anyway.
I think they should be able to use the news footage for free.
Another good point,
they used to be able to.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to move on from that one. Let's do the I now with a topic that I'll never tire of personally, salaries in women's football, Victor. It seems to be constantly talked about.
Yeah, Lioness will have significant bargaining power on pay after World Cup, says lawyer. Now, I totally disagree with this, sorry.
Look, important difference, that.
Look, women footballers, let me explain this to you, yeah? Back in the day, Churchill times, the men footballers were getting 10p and a bag of rice.
True.
So they've had to work their way, they've had to make football become more interesting. It's not about equal pay, it's about, is women's football as interesting as men's football? Men's football's been around for years, we've got so many skillful players. So women's football's only just started, so women's football, when it becomes that skillful and becomes that more entertaining, yes, then you'll get the money. You can't just demand the same amount of money as men.
But it's about revenue, though, isn't it? Well? I mean, even FA Chief Executive Mark Bullingham here says that he goes, oh, yeah, no, equal pay is a long-term goal. We've all turned into communists. But then he admits there's a disproportionate revenue and it's quite a big gap. So there it is. I mean, why have we got this thing about equal pay? But why can't the women's game just be a different game? Why does it always have to be compared to the men's? It's its own game. Let it develop. It's like, oh, we need to get as much as men. But it's just way behind men. It's just how it is for now.
Well, I think I shall watch the game tomorrow. I enjoy watching top level women's football. Yeah, I do. Yeah, mate.
Just like you're singing your credentials. We all know you love the game.
No,
what about the salaries, though?
But what I would say is they keep this. They don't argue this on. It's a really interesting point you made about it being interesting. They never argue the point on quality. They only argue the point on pay, and pay is generated by revenue. So if you look at the percentage of revenue that the men are paid versus the percentage of revenue that the women are paid, it's probably quite equal. The point is the women aren't drawing the revenue in the same way. And when they say that equal pay is the goal, what they should say is making women's football as big as men's football is the goal. That's what... If they can get over this identity politics nonsense, then we will actually get to a point someday in the future, perhaps.
And it's just because men's football has developed... If women's football had started first, it would be more interesting than men's. It's just that men started first, so now it's more interesting, because it wasn't interesting back in the day when they were playing with those lead balls.
Yeah, the massive balls. And when you could punch the keeper right into the simpler times. All right, well, let's move on and do another story about women's football. In the Express and Downing Street are in trouble for their inadequate levels of bunting, Paul.
Yes. Downing Street facing sexism claims over lack of bunting for Lionesses in World Cup. So Downing Street attempts to show support for the Lionesses ahead of the World Cup final have been described as a complete shambles. I wouldn't go that far. Essentially, this is them saying, the group, the blob, whoever, I don't know. Neither do I care. However, what they're saying is when the men progress far, there's a lot more bunting in Downing Street than there is when the women do. Now, from that perspective, I think this is an easy win because they could just put up equal amount of bunting. You know, if what they want is equal bunting, give it to them. I don't have a problem with that.
It's also silly. I mean, we're just obsessed with it, making it absolutely equal. John Sopel today was tweeting, why isn't Rishi Sunak going? Why isn't Prince William going? It's this weird thing you have to... I've got no problem with the women's sport. My problem is with the idea you're forced to like it, you're forced to go on about it, and it's become absurd. I mean, the other day, a bishop said you can miss church to go and watch it, and we're getting a bit carried away. What do you think, Victor?
To be fair to women's football as well, I just want to say this. It has got a lot...
what you said in the last...
I don't want no women cancelling me. It has got a little bit better. I've seen some football matches and the games are really good. But this just goes back to it. Maybe the government don't find it as interesting as men's football, and there's more eyes on men's football. So it's better for them to go to a men's football and have those millions of eyes on them from a business perspective.
That is the reality. If you look at how people actually behave and the sheer lack of bunting, obviously, people aren't quite as into it. Perhaps it's how it is. We've got to go, unfortunately. That's it for part 3. But coming up in the final section, why drugs might not be as good for you as we all thought. Italy pay Albania 68 quid and wedding drones. See you in a minute.
What?
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train. Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference.
And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get into it with The Observer. And taking psychedelic drugs might not be as healthy as we all thought, Paul.
Shocker. Shocker. Is the therapeutic potential of hallucinogens risky and overhyped? Without use... Well, yes, and moving on. Well, it says further on in the article, without careful monitoring and scrutiny who receives them, this class of drug, which includes LSD and MDMA, can be dangerous. I don't think that's particularly news. I mean, I think we all agree drugs are dangerous. It all depends on how much you take.
Depends what you take.
You don't believe me, mate. Take 6 laxatives and go on a bike ride, and then you'll realise how dangerous they are. Yeah. But they're not talking about laxatives here. They're talking... I think this comes out of the sort of alpha bro environment that The Guardian and Observer hate so much. You'll listen to Joe Rogan. I'm not saying you do, you might well do. I listen to Joe Rogan. You listen to people on there. A lot of the alphas will tell you that microdosing of LSD is good for your mental health. It's helped a lot of people. However, what they're saying is, you know, and on the back of a Netflix, there was a Netflix series called How to Change Your Mind as well, which kind of, it doesn't glamorise drugs, but what it does do is say, do you know what, some of these big drugs have got some uses.
No, it glamorises. I mean, these people are going to specially designed islands, meeting these gurus, taking these drugs, and then 3 months later they're having nightmares and all. This is rich people problem.
Yes, I was going to say that. You've got to be very careful taking drugs while being a normal person, like us, from a normal background. If you've been to a state school, you can't take these things.
No.
These are for posh people on their gap year going, oh, I just want to take some ayahuasca and find out more about myself. Like, you found everything there is. There's not that much there.
Just go gym. If you've got mental problems, just go gym.
Yeah, go
Simple.
gym.
Yes. Gym.
Go to the gym.
Simple.
Classic bro advice. Let's do the Times then, and we're finally attacking the real criminals in this country, Waitrose shoppers, Victor.
Beautiful. Waitrose offers free coffee to police in bid to tackle shoplifting. Brilliant idea. But as a former guy who steals from Waitrose, I will just wait for the police to leave. That's that.
They've called the scheme "Thanks a Latte." So that pun alone would put me off. Probably. What do you think, Paul? Is this going to work? They're basically rewarding criminals by saying, "Tell you what, we'll give it to you instead."
Well,
that was my take. I didn't skimmed it.
Let me tell you how to solve the problem. If they're going to give away coffee, if they give everything away for free,
no,
there's no problem with stealing, Victor, is there?
No, that's not what they're doing. They're giving the police coffee.
Yeah, to invite them in so they can steal.
No, they're saying so there's more of a police presence. It kind of makes sense. But
oh yeah, you're right.
You just wait for the police to go.
Yeah, you mate, right. But I mean, are they saying that the only thing that's going to entice the police in to help them solve this problem of shoplifting is free coffee?
Yeah, and a donut.
And a donut. Have these people just been watching too much Simpsons?
I think it will actually work. Victor's totally right. I read that story because it was so boring. Let's move on and do the Express. And the Italian government has been forced to pay £68 to Albania. Now, I knew things were tough in Albania, but not this tough, Paul.
Yeah, the Italian government has stepped in to cover the restaurant bill of 4 Italian tourists who left a restaurant in Albania without paying their £68 or €80 bill. So the big news here is that in Albania, some Italians went for a meal and didn't pay for their meal. The bigger news is that the Italian government paid for the meal after the Albanian government complained. So, I mean, that's a great example to set for a start. So when we're next in Albania, I'm gonna do 80. We'll do €80 worth, you and I. Easy, no trouble. We'll just leave it.
Where do they eat in Albania for £68? There's Nando's in Albania. That's the only place I could think, Nando's.
It's a good point. It's sort of slightly xenophobic, but it's a good point. What did they eat? I've got no idea.
Well, no, I don't know.
You can get a lot of £68 in Albania.
Well, I'm imagining Albania isn't that much different. I mean, there are a lot of people fleeing Albania to come here.
OK, well, we don't have enough knowledge for that one, so let's move on and do the Telegraph. And like most people, when I think of weddings, I tend to think of brutally expensive drones, Victor. That could just be me.
Demand for drone footage helps wedding costs soar to almost £25,000.
Take the drones out.
I've got a conspiracy theory here.
Go on.
I don't believe the story. I reckon the drone companies have paid Telegraph to put this idea into people's... I've been to weddings. I haven't seen no drones.
Never seen a drone.
Have you?
Well, no, but I got married 20 years ago.
Yeah, but you've been to weddings since.
Yeah, occasionally. I've got friends. There's 2 or 3 people that have invited me over the years.
Have you seen drones?
I've never seen a drone once.
Exactly. This is nonsense.
I think it's a good point, actually, because I think you can get married for about 300 quid, Nick.
It is a bit ridiculous. It's kind of an escalation in how you know, what a big production your marriage has to be. I mean, it says here there's some people who had a giant velociraptor dinosaur model and a bride who floated down the aisle suspended from helium-filled balloons.
That's Elton John's wedding.
Just get married in the church.
Exactly, or Hackney Town Hall.
These people aren't entitled to complain about how much it costs.
This is rich people.
If you've got a dinosaur and a drone, that's your own problem.
Yeah, I'm amazed at this. So, I mean, all right, well, we're covering the big stories tonight. Show's pretty much over. Me and Paul are going to do Free Speech Nation tomorrow, so make sure you watch that. But let's have a quick look at the front pages again. So, The Observer has... Now investigate hospital bosses. Letby trial experts urge police. The Sunday Telegraph. Doctors wage war on NHS managers after Letby. The Sunday Times. Killer Letby was offered role at top children's hospital after witch hunt. The Sunday Express has boat crisis. Is EU's revenge for Brexit? The Sunday Mirror. Lioness we can. That amazing pun again. And finally, the Daily Star. They think it's all hangover. That even worse pun. And those were the front pages. That is it for tonight's show. Thanks to Paul and Victor. We're back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with headliners. And, of course, if you're watching at 5 a.m., then stay tuned for breakfast. I'm hosting Free Speech Nation tomorrow at 7 p.m. and Paul Cox is on the panel. So make sure you watch that as well. And you can always catch up on YouTube. But for now, I'll just say good night, good morning, and God bless.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. So as we move through into the second part of the weekend, we'll see further showers, particularly across the northwest of the UK, and sunny spells towards the southeast. And this area of low pressure still brings in the showers and brisk winds towards the northwest, but further south and east, high pressure builds in. For the rest of the evening and overnight, we still have a few showers across Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland, 1 or 2 for western parts of England and Wales, but largely dry for most, with clear skies, especially towards the east of the UK. Temperatures overall, generally 15 or 16 Celsius in towns and cities, a little lower in the countryside. So a fairly warm start to Sunday morning, plenty of sunny spells, a few showers across western areas. And then as we go through the day, many will have a fine day to come. Plenty of sunny spells, just a few showers bubbling up as we move through the afternoon. Showers most frequent across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. 1 or 2 of them could be heavy here. Still rather breezy around the coast. Temperatures reaching the low 20s, perhaps 25 towards the far southeast. Into Monday, little change for England and Wales, 1 or 2 showers around, though we will see more persistent rain returning across parts of Northern Ireland into western Scotland as we move through the day. Some of this rain turning heavy at times, the winds starting to pick up too, and temperatures in the low 20s. Tuesday and Wednesday, largely dry, just a few showers in the north and temperatures above average.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, Nana, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the people's channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good evening, lovely people. Welcome to Neil Oliver Live. I am Neil Oliver, and I was live the last time I looked on GB News TV and on radio. Tonight, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan is serving 3 years in jail, but no one seems to be talking about it here. Why is that? We'll be brought up to speed with the case, and we'll discuss the fate of Imran Khan with Wasiq from the Henry Jackson Society. And the former President of the United States, Donald Trump, faces dozens and dozens of criminal charges and will apparently go on trial several times in the next 18 months. Meanwhile, though, what's happening with the investigations into the President's son, Hunter Biden? Or has that been swept under the rug? United States politics buff Eric Ham joins us live from Fulton County, Georgia in the next half hour. Plus, and finally, why are water voles being released at a secret location in the Lake District? I myself am on tenterhooks. We will hear why the endangered species will hopefully be making a comeback. All of that and more coming up, but first an update on the latest news from Tatiana Sanchez.
Neil, thank you very much and good evening. This is the latest from the GB newsroom. Lawyers representing the families of two of Lucy Letby's victims have called the independent inquiry inadequate. The government ordered a non-statutory investigation after the former nurse's conviction yesterday. It'll look at the circumstances surrounding the deaths, including how concerns raised by clinicians were dealt with. In a statement, the lawyers said the inquiry doesn't have the power to compel witnesses to provide evidence or produce documents and therefore lacks real teeth. Letby was found guilty of the murder of 7 babies and the attempted murder of 6 others. She'll be sentenced on Monday. Pakistani police are seeking to arrest the father of Sarah Sharif in connection to her murder. The 10-year-old's body was found at her home in Woking last Thursday morning after police received a call from Irfan Sharif from Pakistan. Police believe he travelled to Islamabad with Sarah's stepmother, uncle and 5 children a day before her body was discovered. Detectives say she'd suffered extensive injuries over a sustained period of time. Criminal gangs have been condemned by maritime experts for pushing small boats out into the Channel during Storm Betty. Coast Guard and Border Force vessels have been called to deal with reports of migrants' boats in the seas in treacherous conditions. At least 3 were intercepted in UK waters this morning. GB News understands around 100 people were on board. It comes just a week after 6 migrants drowned attempting the crossing. Age UK says hundreds of thousands of older people missed out on financial support for their energy bills. The charity claims more than 700,000 households didn't receive help from the Energy Bill Support Scheme Alternative Fund. It was set up for people with non-direct supply arrangements, such as those living in care homes, mobile homes or on boats. But Age UK says the fund had completely flopped due to a complicated application process and a lack of publicity. A protest over the closure of railway ticket offices will be staged outside Downing Street later this month. The RMT union says it'll stage a mass rally on the 31st of August, which is the last day of the consultation process. It warns the move to close up to 1,000 offices will put more than 2,000 jobs at risk. The planned action comes as cross-country train workers stage the first of 4 strikes over working conditions. RMT members will also walk out over the next 3 Saturdays. And protesters demonstrating against the ultra-low emission zone have brought traffic to a standstill in south-east London. The action comes 10 days before the ULEZ expansion comes into force, covering the entire city. Tractors, a taxi and a 3-wheeled car were seen spiralling around a roundabout at Orpington War Memorial while protesters shouted into megaphones and blew their whistles. Drivers will have to pay a £12.50 daily fee from the 29th of August if their vehicles don't meet the new requirements. A state of emergency has been declared in Canada's western province of British Columbia, where wildfires are threatening homes. Thousands of people have been evacuated from the area as the fires burn in the hills and mountains above West Kelowna. Strong winds are fanning the flames, with the fire service warning the blaze could reach the outskirts of the city by the weekend. Canada's facing its worst season on record, with more than 1,000 active fires burning across the country. Now, the Lionesses say they're buoyed by the level of support ahead of tomorrow's World Cup final. England take on Spain, playing to win the trophy for the very first time. Lauren James, who served a 2-match suspension following her red card against Nigeria, could start tomorrow. Manager Serena Wiegman says it's the same